Hi everyone, a short follow-up video on the rogue nerfs. You might have seen my previous video talking about this here. The advanced twisting blades cooldown reduction effect has been reduced, and ever since that happened, a lot of people came to my stream asking me about what is going on, is it bugged, or like what happened. So they have changed the skill and nerfed it to 0.1 seconds cooldown reduction per enemy hit. And a lot of people thought that this is actually not working at all. So there's like a thread here where people started talking about this. So it turns out that the skill is actually working as intended, and the cooldown reduction value that you get from advanced twisting blades is the value that you're supposed to have. So they also talked about that there's intentionally no interaction between blade dancer aspect and twisting blades, so that you can't use those spinning blades to gain extra cooldown reduction or something like that. And there's also no cap on how much cooldown reduction a single skill can get. And I have actually independently tested this before this post was out, because we had so many people asking, and I wasn't quite sure if it was bugged or not, but I actually went in to try it out. And you can see this in this clip here. So I spec the advanced twisting blades, and you see here I am attacking 2 times on this ghoul, and then I try to dash here to the left to hit like around 10 targets or so. With 10 targets, you get roughly 1 second off your cooldowns, and you can look at the shadow imbuement here that I activate, and you can see that it reduces the cooldown. You see, there comes the first, here comes the second, and you can see the jump. I can do this in like slow motion a bit, and you can see it better. So we jump over there, and then comes 1, there comes 2, and we got a cooldown here. So this was within like 1 second or so, I got roughly 3-4 seconds off the cooldown. But you have to remember, this only works with the returning blades and not with the spinning blades or with the initial hit. So this is exactly what it says in the tooltip, and this is exactly what it does. So in order to get the cooldown reduction now, you have to hit large packs of enemies, which means that most of the time you have to try to actually play the build properly, or you have to just deal with the longer cooldowns that, well, every other rogue build also has to deal with. In the end, I would say that Twisting Blades is still a much faster and smoother build to play than most of the other rogue builds. It's overall still my favorite build, and I think it's generally not a bad idea to nerf the cooldown a little bit, because Twisting Blades with the cooldown reduction was definitely quite obscene, I guess, compared to basically any other thing you can do on the rogue, or even in the game in general. There's not many cooldown reduction effects of that sort in the game. And it was kind of like too prevalent in non-Twisting Blades builds, in my opinion. So for example, I made a Rain of Arrow build with Word of Hakan that also used Twisting Blades just for the cooldown reduction, for example. Or the Death Trap build itself that a lot of people are playing on the rogue is actually also based around Twisting Blades cooldown reduction. So this is kind of where that even came in. And now you have definitely more options to not play Twisting Blades and still feel at like a similar power level and feel like you can use your cooldowns in a similar fashion. Twisting Blades or the Death Trap are still really fast builds anyway, and you do get those cooldown resets, even though you don't reset your entire like dash or shadow step at once anymore from like a big pack. It's a bit harder to reset them, but you can roll some cooldown reduction on your amulet, you can roll some cooldown reduction on your helm, and then especially late game, things start picking up the pace a bit more again. In my previous video, I already mentioned the aspect of synergy. This gives you a 20% cooldown reduction for your subterfuge skills, aka the poison trap. And at least for the trapper build, this is a very good include now. So you drop one of the offensive aspects, something like vengeful, I believe, or smiting I dropped for this. So I already updated the guide here, and we have synergy, so that you get a better cooldown on your poison trap, and you can still throw it in basically every single pack to proc your exposure and all of your other trap synergies. So this is the change that I suggest here. I also keep getting a lot of questions about what is the new best rogue build now, what do we play now that Death Trap and Twisting Blades is nerfed? Well, the answer is it's probably still the best. So Death Trap I think is still the overall best build on rogue, but everything has kind of like moved together a lot. So each of the core skills has like their own viable build now, and you don't have to play only Death Trap to be like an effective rogue. So that's really good. And especially with some of the other nerfs that other classes have received, Barb and Druid, it seems like Blizzard is really trying to like even out the balance of builds, which is really the best thing for the game in my opinion. For example, the last few days I was actually leveling up a new rogue with Barrage and Rapid Fire. I was experimenting a bit And I actually had really good success with those. And I know that penetrating shot is very strong. I know that flurry is pretty good. So it seems like all of the core skills on the rogue are kind of covered. And I will have some more to share on rapid fire in particular as well soon. But overall, I gotta say that rogue feels like it's in a really good spot now, especially with the top classes being tuned down a bit. I think everything has just like, moved a bit together with like not really these super crazy shiny builds at the top anymore. And I've also tried to lift up some of the worst ones already. And we see that this is a continuous trend with balance changes coming in, with tweaks being done based on the data, and generally I have to agree with them. I think Blizzard is doing a relatively good job with the balancing right now. And let's see where this will go from here. And that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. I wish you good luck and see you guys next time.